Hey, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's BallsoKly. I had a lot of people messaging me asking me how I do some of my mixing in FL Studio, so I wanted to make a quick tutorial on a really simple song I just did a mix for. So for this tutorial, we're going to use a lot of FL plugins, but we're also going to use a lot of Waves plugins, especially for the compressors, and then I'll also use a Fab Filter plugin, but there's definitely free alternatives for everything you're going to see me use today. And if you know, it's easy to go ahead and get the Waves plugin package, whether or not you really pay for it, right? Cool. So the first thing I'm going to mention is I have a template here that I use always to mix. It's just got everything already routed into vocal buses with delay sends, reverb sends, saturation sends, a lot of things like that. So I'm going to put this totally free. Link will be in the description if you want to go ahead and download that, and it'll make it, trust me, easier for you to just do a lot of good, repeatable mixing and mastering. Now, we'll touch on mastering in a separate video. Today's just going to focus on the mix. So here I have a song from my buddy Ty on a beat I did. It's called Nice Guy, and we've been working on it for a bit. Now, it's pretty simple. You'll see we basically just have an intro ad-lib, an outro ad-lib, and then a hook and a verse in the middle. So he recorded it at his house and just sent this to me to mix. Now, so let me play you just a section of this with none of the effects on so you can kind of hear what the raw takes sounded like.
Oh, nice guy, you didn't see me, I didn't seen you at the right time. Don't you dream it, just believe it, I'm the right guy.
Right, so it's a nice clean recording for the most part throughout this. So really we're just looking to get in there, correct some of the things like the EQ, get some compression on it, and add some of the wet effects. So first thing I always do, right, is we come in and in this I already have a couple delay sends, reverbs, and saturation turned on. So I'm just going to leave those on for now while I mix in, then we'll go ahead and adjust those as needed. Now, the first major thing I usually like to do is Autotune, right? So since I made the beat, I know it's in C sharp minor. So I went ahead, used Autotune Pro, but again, you could use something like Pitcher here, whatever plugin you have available. And for it, I basically have the default preset, right? So I have it in my key, and now I have the retune speed at about 20 and the humanize all the way up. Now, what that is doing is the retune speed is how quickly the autotune comes in to adjust the key of a note to this C sharp minor. And the humanize is for longer drawn out notes. It kind of flattens how much of that autotune might be coming in. So since there's a bit of singing in this and extended notes, we don't want that autotune warble. So I have that humanize all the way up. Now, if you're mixing something you really want that auto-tune sound, you probably want something like a retune speed of, somewhere between 0 and 10. You really want a lot of auto-tune. You might want the humanize all the way down so you really get that warbling on those extended notes. But again, for this, we want it more of something smooth, so really just using auto-tune to correct him into key rather than trying to get an effect with it. Now, the next thing I do here is I like to usually use something like Fruity EQ2 to do a high-end boost. So you'll see I took the 7 knob and just left it as a shelf, and I kind of dragged it left and right up in this like +6 to +5 dB range until I kind of found where I wanted to boost this vocal. Now, if I'd went further to the left towards the mids, I'd be boosting a lot of the mid sound that I didn't want to boost. So I really focused on the high mid up to the treble piece of this. And then I had a really bad frequency being picked up in the original recording at around this 3800. So I just cut that out by a couple of dBs. So after the high end boost, it now sounds like this, and this is with some of those wet effects on.
Oh, nice guy, you didn't see me, I didn't seen you at the right time. Don't you dream it, just believe it, I'm the right guy.
Right, so we're already starting to sound a whole lot better there. But one thing you could really hear is there's still some bad frequencies. There's some S-ing, and also it's not compressed. We saw it like, this part was really loud, whereas right in here it got pretty quiet, right? So now we're gonna do some more of these dry effects directly on the vocal to clean it up. So next thing I use is Fab Filter Pro Q3, but you can use there's TDR Nova is a free alternative, which is also a dynamic equalizer. And another one is if you have waves, you could use the RTA F6, which is also a dynamic equalizer. So first thing I did is I came in and I cut out the lows. So everything below 90 hertz, I got rid of. Then in a lot of vocals, you'll have a lot of boominess in this low end range around like 140 to 200, right? And I don't want that at all. It tends to not sound good, conflicts with things like the bass in the 808, right? So what I did here is I came in and I made a dynamic cut. So I really only have it subtracting out minus 0.13 dBs. But then anytime it comes above this threshold, I have it cutting out in almost another 6 dBs, right? So really doing a lot of work to remove a lot of the low end there. Then in closer to the low mid slash mids range in the 380 pieces where I found it here, I had a lot of boxiness and kind of like boominess going on. You'll find this in a lot of your vocals, especially if you're using a condenser microphone. You don't have a great recording environment. So again, similar thing. I came in, I have the threshold pretty much at 0 dBs, and I'm cutting anything that goes over that threshold of 0 dBs by another minus 3 3 3/4 dBs right here. Then another similar cut up in this, higher mid range in the 2300 hertz range. I ended up having some frequencies I didn't really love. It was making him sound a little bit radio and kind of that effect, and I didn't want that, right? We wanted a really clean mix. So I went ahead again, it's basically at a 0 dB threshold, and we are cutting out a little bit less, so just around like 2.75 dBs are being cut out. And the last thing I did is I have a high cut up here, and it's a hard brick wall cut, and I'm just cutting everything below 18,000 basically hertz. And I did that because we're going to boost some more of the highs in a minute here, and I don't want to boost some of those bad frequencies as we do it. Now, after that, the vocal's a lot cleaner, and I'll play it for you in a minute here. But the next thing I like to do is bring in fresh air or another plugin that kind of boosts and to add some saturation to the vocal. So you can see I'm basically adding 25% of the high mids as well as the high end sparkle. And one of the reasons I made this brick wall cut here in Pro Q3 is because I don't want to add high-end sparkle to bad frequencies that I already have. Now I can add a little cleaner high-end sparkle and let the plugin work a little bit more than kind of like the original vocal just being boosted. Now, the last thing I'll do before I play it is a de-esser. So there's a ton of different de-essers out there. There's a lot of free ones like Spitfish, and even in Maximus there's one. So find yourself a de-esser, find the range you're having some S's at, and cut it out. So you'll see when I play this and have all these plugins up that this de-esser isn't working a ton, right? It's just looking to roll off some of that harsh S-ing is basically what I'm going for. So let me go ahead and play it for you now before we get into the compression.
Oh, nice guy, you didn't see me, I didn't seen you at the right time. Don't you dream it, just believe it, I'm the right guy. In the mountains, I can see it on the high climb. I won't leave you, I'm a nice guy. Buy you everything I can see.
Cool, so everything's starting to sound a whole lot cleaner. And again, for this first vocal channel on channel 5, I'm really just looking to put a lot of dry effect plugins on it to clean up the vocal, so then we can add our things like reverb, delay, and saturation, right? So the next step in that is compressing it. Now, I like to use a classic stack that's been used since like the 70s for compression, right? And it's using the CLA 76 and the CLA 2A. These are Waves plugins. I think the 2A is actually free right now. If you could go look that up, there's some deal for like another month, totally free. But these are the most important plugins I use, right? There's so many other alternatives for things like equalizers or even like boosts like fresh air or de-essers, but I really love these compressors. They're going to give you a great sound every time if you use them correctly. So I really suggest, even if you have to buy them, go spend like the $20 on each of them. They're going to be really instrumental in getting clean mixes for you. So let's talk some quick theory. What am I trying to do with these two compressors stacked one after another? Well, with the 76, I'm looking to really just tame the peaks of this audio, right? So if we kind of zoom in here, see, like, this is a peak compared to, the rest of the audio we have going on. And this right up here is a little peak as well. I'm looking to knock those down first and tame those peaks with this 76 compressor. And then we'll let the 2A compressor do the rest of the work to kind of get everything to, if you were picturing it, one size, right, with this waveform. So with the 76 to do that, you can use either the Bluey or Blackie revision. I tend to prefer Bluey. It's a little bit of warmer compression, but if you were doing something like a harsh, maybe goth rap song or something, you might want to use Blackie. So just try them both and see what's working best for your vocal. But where I always start is I turn the attack all the way up and I turn the release all the way up. This means that the attack is happening the fastest it can and the release is also happening as quickly as possible. And that makes sense, right? Because we're just looking to tame those peaks. So when there's a peak, I want the 76 to come in immediately, hit that with compression, and then drop off quickly as well, right? So it's just hitting the peaks. Now, to do this, what you're normally going to do is start with the input knob, right? And I'll actually turn off or keep the 2A off and I'll play it and show you kind of how I do this. But what I'm looking to happen is to see this here just jumping quickly out to like some between -3 to -10 dBs and jumping right back to 0. That would signal to me that it is just coming out on the peaks, adding compression and jumping off before the next part without a piece begins. And so let me show you as I move this input knob up and down how this reacts, right?
Oh, nice guy, you didn't see me, I didn't seen you at the right time. Don't you dream it, just believe it, I'm the right guy. In the mountains, I can see it on the high climb. I won't leave you, I'm a nice guy. Buy you everything I can so you can look fly. Take a turn, my stomach churn, I'm on the life ride. Look your way and grab your hand and then we lock.
So you could see when I turned that input way up, right, we were kind of immediately, or like you could see here that this was jumping all the way down and staying on, right? It wasn't just taming those peaks, it was compressing the entire signal. And then when I brought it a bit lower and we went too low, you could see it wasn't even catching those peaks, it was just staying at 0. So I found that nice middle ground where it is just jumping in to tame those peaks and then dropping back off. Now, then you want to set your output volume and be careful with this because you're going to use the 2A compressor next and you're able to boost the volume a bit there. So don't go too loud, right? And this signal how much output is coming out is how much input will be coming into the 2A. Last thing I did is I just turned on 50 hertz of analog warmth, basically like white noise. Just sounds nice in a lot of songs where you're going to be mixing for like a singer. So don't always use it, but when it sounds good, flip it on to 50 or 60 hertz. So then next, we're going to use the 2A, right? And again, what we're doing with the 2A is actually compressing the vocal. Now, what I'm targeting here is something like a steady -2 to -3 dBs of compression for the entirety of the vocal. And to do that, we're just going to move the peak reduction knob to the right to have more compression, to the left for less compression. And then once we're done finding a good balance, we will play with the gain knob to get the volume right. So let me play this for you and show you how it's kind of working right now.
Oh, nice guy, you didn't see me, I didn't seen you at the right time. Don't you dream it, just believe it, I'm the right guy. In the mountains, I can see it on the high climb. I won't leave you, I'm a nice guy. Buy you everything I can so you can look fly. Take a turn,
Now we could see we were in a great range there, right? It's kind of sitting between -2 to -3 dBs for the majority of the vocal. Occasionally it's shifting up a little bit more compression and sometimes a little bit less. That makes sense, right? We heard that through this section right here where there's some pieces that are a lot, I guess, visually thicker waveforms. we were hearing that was all pretty equal in terms of the volume coming out of it, right? That's what we were looking to do. Then after that, I just set it to a good volume with the gain, which was about 34 here. After that, I'm going to go back into Q3, and now I'm just looking to, again, kind of get rid of some of the bad frequencies. So again, in the low end, we still had some boominess coming through. I didn't like that, so we dynamically cut it out. And back in that low mid range, again, there was just some boominess, boxiness coming through. Didn't like that. Again, dynamically cut it. Then I just found this bad frequency that was coming through at about 750 hertz, so I went dynamically cut that as well. And then finally around 4,000, I kind of had a bad high end, or I guess like a high mid frequency that just was coming through on certain words and just didn't sound good. So again, just doing, some more dynamic EQing to get rid of those bad frequencies. Then after that, what we're going to do is I like to compress it all again, right? So in theory here now, we've corrected the key with Autotune. We've boosted the highs. We've then cut out some of the bad frequencies. Then we added some boost / saturation to the high mids and the high end. Then we De-Essed it. Then we compressed it, got rid of the peaks, compressed it for the whole vocal. Now after that was coming through with the compression, we wanted to correct any parts with the equalization to get rid of any of those bad frequencies that were still there, or even accentuate it through the compressors. And now we're going to do a final compressor to bring it all together. I love the R-Comp compressor. It just has a really nice warmth to it, so it's usually the last plugin I'll use on my dry chain. And all I'm doing here is I open the plugin and I leave it at the default. I change this to 2.0 ratio, and I just drag down the threshold until I'm getting somewhere between -2 and -3 dBs of compression. And then I drag the attack to the right and the release to the left until I'm just getting a really quick compression that's going to sit somewhere around 1 dBs of compression. So I'll show you how this is reacting here.
Oh, nice guy, you didn't see me, I didn't seen you at the right time. Don't you dream it, just believe it, I'm the right guy. In the mountains, I can see it on the high climb. I won't leave you, I'm a nice guy. Buy you everything I can see you.
And now, if I had the attack, closer to the middle and the release closer to the middle, you would have seen this orange line staying down further and for longer, closer to -3, but I don't want that much compression, right? Again, I just wanted about a dB of compression to happen quickly, and that's why I boosted my gain a dB to make up for that. Now, that is our dry vocal mix. One other thing you might consider doing sometimes is grabbing a plugin like NS1 or anything else that is a noise gate. And, I'm just going to turn it up a little bit here, for example, but this is going to get rid of a lot of that background noise that was in the general recording. So let me play you this whole thing with the dry mix on.
Oh, nice guy, you didn't see me, I didn't seen you at the right time. Don't you dream it, just believe it, I'm the right guy. In the mountains, I can see it on the high climb. I won't leave you,
Cool. So then, like I said, we have a couple sends here. So the first one is our delay send. Now you can use any plugin, but I'm just using Fruity Delay 2 for this. But the key is I turned the dryness all the way down so that this volume knob now becomes the proxy for how much delay I'm sending into the signal. Same thing here with the reverb on the next one, right? I have the wet all the way up, dry all the way down, and then I've just messed with the other settings. You can feel free to copy these. These are a good base, or again, they're built into the template if you want to download it. Then for the final one, I just have Soundgoodizer. It's best on D for really any vocals, about halfway down. And then again, we're using that as a send. So let me kind of show you how these work. And I'll mute the beat and just show you the vocal and show you how I mix them in and how it changes when you adjust the knobs.
Oh, nice guy, you didn't see me, I didn't seen you at the right time. Don't you dream it, just believe it, I'm the right guy. In the mountains, I can see it on the high climb. I won't leave you, I'm a nice guy.
Now, I definitely recommend doing this adjustment for how much reverb, delay, and saturation while the beat is playing. Now, I already have them set to a point where I like it. And now I'm pretty happy with the overall vocal. What I want to do next, though, is sometimes with these reverb delays, right, you could go and you could EQ your reverb, you could EQ your saturation, right? But if you want to be slightly lazy with it and not get that in depth, just go ahead, throw something like an EQ on your vocal bus, and then go ahead and get rid of those bad frequencies. So you could see again the delay, the reverb, the saturation were kind of accentuating some of those bad frequencies we'd already cut out. So now I just went again and made a non-dynamic cut to some of them by a couple dBs. Now, this point, I'm happy with the vocals. So what I did is I took the Adlib and I copied it into my Adlib track here, which is already set up with my sends as well. And then really all I did is I right-clicked on this, clicked File, Save Mixer State Track, and then dropped it on track 11. That just copies my mix over. And what I did is I made it a little more stereo just with the knob here, so an easy, quick way to make it more stereo, and turned it down a bit. Now, I won't play that because it sounds the same as the vocal, but I'll show you at the end. We wanted to do something cool with the outro vocals, so I routed these first to track 20, which I then copied over the main vocal mix to. And what I did is I ended up adding in a Fruity EQ2. And what I did is I just kind of used the radio preset here and then adjusted it to get rid of a lot of the highs and the lows. And then I went ahead, I selected it, hit Control-Alt-C, and normally I'd give you the option to export. So I exported that out, and then I routed it to a different track now, which happened to be 24. And I just ended up messing with like some presets I downloaded off the internet. Was just trying to get like a random cool effect. But with that, I threw a new preset on, right? And then I added in some different delay send here. So it's routed to the delay. And then I also added a fruity flanger, boosted the high end. And again, this was just to achieve like a kind of cool sound, I guess. Then what I did is I exported that again for the last part, and I chopped it just down to the last bar, and I routed this to another channel where I have this vocal delay preset I built on, right? So if you have something like H delay, I'm just kind of adding the ping pong and these, whatever these left and right things are, phasers, I think. Then I set it to 1 bar, which is how fast I want it to happen. Turn the feedback up a bit, threw on some high pass, some low pass. Then I have a flanger on just default and Fruity LSD on default as well. And you'll hear that this makes a kind of cool overall effect where the ad-libs sound just different than the rest of the track. And then we have a nice delay on the last ad-lib to close it out. So I'll go ahead and play that for you.
Nice guy, I'm a nice guy. Nice guy, I'm a nice guy.
So I don't know, sounds pretty cool. I definitely have to turn those way down to mix it better in. But that's really it for the tutorial today. That is my vocal chain that I use pretty much always. You know, sometimes I'll plug or pivot in different plugins to achieve a certain result. But if you go ahead, you follow this main dry vocal. So you do tune, you boost the highs, you kind of get rid of bad frequencies, you add some saturation, you De-Ess it, you compress it correctly, and EQ it and compress it again. It's always going to sound pretty good. This is a really simple, repeatable formula you can use over and over for whoever you're mixing for, and it should give you a great result as long as you get, you know, all the knobs correct. So hopefully this helped y'all out. Again, go ahead, get this mix template. It's totally free in the description below. And let me know what y'all want to see next. I've already recorded a video on how to master a song using Waves plugin, specifically the Studio Rack plugin. and I'll be releasing that next. But I'm happy to go into anything, like any cool effects, like some of what I did here at the end of today, and make a specific video on it. So let me know in the description. Appreciate y'all tuning in today. Peace.